Hey, what's going on, everybody? Your boy JC. Everyday Thoughts is in the building. Everybody gather around. Tonight's topic is it possible to abstain from sex until marriage? Some say yes, some say no. I give my take and Joy's take. So, everybody gather around. What's going on, Regina? Should be a good conversation, discussion as always. What's going on, Erica? What's going on, everybody? Miss Matthews, how you doing tonight? Make sure y'all sharing this video with everybody. Should be a good discussion, good debate. Oh wow, sorry to hear that, Miss Matthews. My condolences go out to you. Hold on one second, waiting on my co-host. What's going on, Crystal? What's going on, Brittany? How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, what's going on, Joy? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Blessed and highly favored.
That's awesome. Finally.
Yeah, finally. So yeah, though,
Yeah.
introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joy, also Pink Girl Teaches, and I am a life coach, dating and relationship coach. I also specialize in sexual and narcissistic abuse. I help victims rediscover themselves as well as rebuild their lives.
Okay, so tonight's topic is it possible to abstain from sex until marriage? I mean,
That's That's the topic. Yes. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation with you. I think the first thing would be to decide what standpoint are you looking at this from? Like, what is the reason why you were doing it? A lot of people will say, yes, it's possible to abstain from sex before marriage from a biblical standpoint. Now, you have a lot of reasons why you want to abstain from sex from a biblical standpoint, primarily because that's what we're taught in the church. Now, I don't know about you, I grew up in the church, and those biblical principles are the foundations of my life. However, when you start throwing in sex, which is such a strong human desire, it becomes a bit challenging and difficult, and then people want to question whether it's possible. People will say things like, well, the Bible was written so many years ago. And at the time it was written, people were getting married when they were 13, 14, and 15. So it's not applicable in this time and age. But what I say to that is like, okay, so I understand that argument. However, what about when we are facing challenges in life, when we're facing sickness, when we're facing sorrow, when we're facing death, when we're facing loss? those same principles, that same Bible, we call upon it and we quote those scriptures and we stand on it. So in that instance, it's okay for, the Bible to say what it says and for us to be like, yes, that works, but we kind of pick and choose where we want the scriptures to apply. And so, it kind of becomes like, okay, so, are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it because you want to follow what everybody else is saying? Are you really doing it? Do you know why you're doing it? In the church, I think the church has done a great disservice to us when they say, well, the Bible says, the Bible says, the Bible says, because at the end of the day, we come home and the Bible says is competing with feeling on your booty. Culture is telling us it's okay. We're living in a hypersexual culture, and everywhere you look, TV, internet, take your phone, you don't have to search far. You don't have to go, anywhere, magazines, everything. It's bombarding us with, that it's okay to, to have premarital sex or another thing is like you have people like myself, I'm divorced, I have kids. So I know what it's about. So now how do I come from that situation and then suddenly I have nothing and then just hold on to like I want to abstain from sex because this is what I'm supposed to do, but you still have urges. You still have wants. You don't want to lay in that cold bed by yourself. You want to feel somebody, but I think at the core of everything is you have to know why you are doing it. And I think that's where you can have a deeper level conversation to really get into the gist of it because the Bible says just is not cutting it. So I think, when it does come to sex, it's important that you have somebody who understands just how powerful sex is as much as you do. It's real, it's instant. We're living in a society of instant gratification. I mean, we have all these dating apps now where you can just go search a profile, find what you like, and hook up. And it be what it is, and it's no big deal. Nobody will even judge you. It's just what happens. Like we're hypersexual. And but the problem with that is that what happens when you start to, when you come together intimately, when you come together sexually, it's not just the physical act because there's something happening on a spiritual level also. And so now this is where we get into soul ties. And
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, you right about that. Go on, go on.
Huh?
No, I was saying go on, go on.
Yeah, so you have to look for at it from a deeper level. I think like, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. I want to be able to have sex with somebody who respects it as much as I do because it's more than just bumping bodies. It's way more than that. You have to have an understanding that there is an exchange of souls. You will take on the characteristics of that person that you are with. You will also expose yourself to the spirits that they have been exposed to. Not only that though, but I think on another level, when it does come to sex and when we're looking at it from a biblical perspective, you have to understand that that was God's design for marriage. That's where the gifting for marriage was. It was sex at the end of the day. So what I mean, like I would say that of course be on the same perspective as that person, but understanding that okay, one way to preserve and to protect yourself is to hold off until you have somebody who aligns with your principles, whether you're just waiting to find somebody prior to marriage, just somebody who's suitable. You're not going to wait for marriage, but you're going to do it in between or whatever. Find, you wait for the right person because it is dangerous when you connect yourself to the wrong person. I think one of the where the church has it messed up is where they say, oh, the Bible says, the Bible says. Here's the thing, go a little deeper because that's not satisfying anybody. And when you tell somebody don't do this, you tend to want to do it more. So understand this, abstaining from sex, that's one way that you can protect yourself as well as preserve who you currently are and the person that you are becoming. Because like I said, when you get together with the wrong person, you can throw yourself off. And for some people, it can take a long time to recover from that. Not only just detoxing yourself, but actually rebuilding yourself after some breakups.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, as far as is it possible to abstain from sex until marriage? I mean, it all depends on the two people that's involved in a relationship. So it has worked in the past. Some people it really work. Some people they waited. Some people they've had sex the first night and it works. So it all depends on both players' core values and core needs. But like I said, it's possible, but it's very unlikely that two people are going to wait until marriage to have sex. A lot of times they may be celibate, but they still may doing, sexual act as far as still giving each other head, etc. So it's still not all the way being celibate or being abstinent from sex.
You're right, it does depend. Before it can depend on two people, I think it depends on an individual first, because you have to know what you want. And you have to, and if you do want to hold off until marriage, then you have to find somebody who aligns with it, because yes, it's rare, but they're there.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then,
no,
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, no, I was gonna say, it's all about finding a person with similar core values. Like, you want to wait, then you have the possible want to wait. You want to wait, the other person going to have sex the first week or first 2 months of relationship, then it's like, y'all not really evenly yoked, and y'all really don't need to be, getting involved unless y'all on the same page. You saw a
That's true.
situation where Devon and Megan Goods, they waited, and Russell Wilson and Sierra, they waited, and it worked itself out. But not everybody have that same kind of vision, that same kind of mindset. So, to tell people to wait till marriage, I mean, I think it sounds good on paper, but a lot of times, a lot of men and women, they want to test drive before they buy, before they purchase it. Okay.
That's true. Now, here's the thing with the test drive. Like, I want to be sure, like, okay, if we're going to talk about the test drive and we're doing it from a biblical perspective, we're going to trust God in the hospital room. We're going to call him Jehovah Rapha because we know he's going to heal. We're going to trust him to be our vindicator in the courtroom. We're going to trust him to heal, to deliver, to set free, to redeem, to restore, all of those things. But we won't trust him with our sex life.
Yeah.
Why? How? How
Why,
then? Huh?
I said, like, what was the question again?
How then, can you say that you're really trusting God? How then can you say that you've really turned everything over to him? Because we trust him with everything else, every other area of our life. We face loss, job, whatever. We're trusting him to restore and to take care of us. But when it comes to sex, we don't trust him with a partner that we believe is from him. God doesn't give you somebody who's not right for you. Like we talk about it, and it's very easy when you're not in a relationship to talk about this and say, well, I'm waiting on the Lord, because you don't have anybody. So what choice do you have at the end of the day? And so, it's easy from that standpoint to talk about these things. It's a different thing when you are in the relationship with somebody. And that's why it's important that first know yourself, be able to articulate what you want with this person, as well as listen to what they're saying. And this is really in the dating phase, when you're still getting to know each other, when you're still trying to evaluate whether you have any potential future with this person before you actually now decide that we're committed to moving forwards.
Yeah, and also too, I
That
mean, you see a lot of people they're trying to, and then they may try to shack up, and they try to live together before marriage. So it really, increases the possibility of you guys having sex before marriage. Y'all living together. So what's your take on that?
Well, listen, I'm not going to be out here calling the pot calling the kettle black. I did that. We had our kids before we got married. We lived together before we got married, and then we got married and was just the biggest, disaster ever. I won't do that again. I won't shack up with anybody. I won't live with anybody. I won't play house with anybody until after marriage. And that's just because I felt like it took away from the marriage. I think you date somebody intentionally. When you're in the relationship, be intentional with what you're doing and what you're saying, so that you know that this person, is the right person for you. Because I don't know, the whole test run thing, I'm not for it. And that's my personal standpoint. I know people have different opinions on that, but that's just where I am. No, I wouldn't be shacking with anybody.
Yeah,
No.
because some people feel like you gotta shack up and see how the person living situation is. They live by good, and they're paying their bills on time. They're making sure the household is clean and neat. So a lot of times it is kind of you still evaluating that person to see that's the right mix because y'all do end up getting married, moving together, and now all of a sudden now you gotta wait until the person and that person know they don't want to wash clothes, don't want to dry clothes, don't want to fold up, or leaving stuff everywhere, messy or junky. So it's like a lot of stuff you could have been avoided. Y'all would have known. Y'all would have moved in together. So there's always the pros and the cons, of everything,
You don't have to live with somebody though to know whether they're clean, whether they're dirty, whether they pick up after themselves, because you could actually live with a person and say, we're going to give this thing a test to see how long, to see how it is being in a marriage. And they will be on their best behavior. Now that you've signed the paper, you've said your I do's, here comes the real Slim Shady. Then what? Now you're married. And now they feel like, well, this is what you wanted. We're married. No, this is who I am. Deal with it. Where are you going? So, I mean, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to solve that problem.
And I even think even when you're in a relationship or even like, married, I think you still need to like stay for sex just to like clear your mind and try to just focus on self, personal stuff too. Even if you are in a marriage or in a relationship, you still need to, have time for yourself, with or without that person, and trying to find out who you are to create identity because you don't want to be in a situation where you're in identity and that's all you are is that person and you don't have anything to show for yourself.
That's so true. You do have to, not lose yourself in the relationship, because that's one way that things can go downhill. You just get lost in, the midst of everything. But like really, I think, it's just really knowing yourself and doing the work beforehand before you actually get in a relationship with anybody. Do the work and really know what you want, because you'd be surprised how many people are just one relationship to the next, without any self-reflection, without setting things in perspective, and then just ending up like, oh, how did I get here? And now that I'm here, what do I do? And I have a whole person next to me. So one thing I also say is, like I always say this to the ladies, is that you got to be careful about having sex with a man. And really, when you're having it prematurely, before you've actually got any guidelines or you really know what you're doing, or even just being sure that this man is fully invested in you, because one thing that's so common in culture now is that, like I said, people just have sex anywhere, anyhow, anytime, whether you know each other, whatever. But what happens when we women have sex, what happens is our bodies release the hormone oxytocin. Now oxytocin is like a dopamine, and when it's released in you, it's really the cuddle drug. It's also the love drug. And what it does is it causes us to form attachments. It causes us to develop feelings prematurely. So you could be out here with this person and being having all the sex you want or whatever. And it happens when you have situations with friends with benefits. When you give yourself over, you say that, oh, you know what, I know what I'm doing, I've got a handle on this, but end up catching feelings for the person. And that's because of the oxytocin that is released in our bodies. Men do not release this drug. That's why a man can go on and have, like, a man can really reproduce all year long. But once we get pregnant, that's it. We have to bring this child into we have to birth this child. We're going to carry this child and then birth this child. So there's a difference between us. We can't do those things. We don't have that same capability, and it's because of that hormone. So once it's in your system, that's it. And we can get it from just hugging. We can it causes your decisions sometimes not to be the wisest, because there's that impairment. Think about it. It's a dopamine, which is on the same level as heroin.
Yeah, Remy said, "What's up, Remy? What's going on, Beverly?" Remy said, "Self-reflection is the most people's strong suit. It's difficult to actually evaluate and take accountability for our own personal demons. It's unfortunate, But yeah, though, like I said, you just gotta know works for you. Like I said, I mean, you want to sit there and wait, and you got to go out there and wait. But it's going to be hard times to sit there and wait. And not a lot of men, even women, aren't trying to sit there and wait until marriage. So, like I said, there's a situation where women have waited and the guy can't get it up, or he can't really please her sexually. So, but I always think that it's always good to, always get to know that person, make some kind of connection, emotionally, mentally, before you do try to have sex with somebody. And that way, that y'all have some kind of connection, and it's not, everything is just all about lust. I do have some kind of connection.
That's true. You've got to know that it's not about lust, and that's why it's important to pace yourself. It's not for everybody, absolutely, but and like I say, people have various reasons why they want to do it. So be sure about it and be true to yourself. You don't have to feel the pressure of what society says is right, and you don't have to, just give into the pressure of somebody. Anybody who truly loves you or values you or wants you in their lives will do right by you. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. When somebody really wants you or wants you in their life, they'll do what they have to do to get you, or to have that relationship with you. So it's, yeah, true. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, and also too, you do have a double standard where, a man is looked down. He's a Mac. He's a player. He's sleeping with a lot of women. Then a woman get, looked down upon. You slow. You're a hoe. You sit there and have multiple sex partners. So there is a double standard and there is a double agenda as far as men pressuring other men to have sex and women, telling women to not open the legs to everybody. So it's a kind of like a two-way contradicting towards each other.
That's true. But you know what? I have a question about that double standard because I mean, there's like really, as far as culture is concerned, like sex is just sex. Like people are just they're just doing it. So do we still call women um loose, easy?
I mean,
Because
I don't judge nobody, but it
well,
is.
I mean, just in general.
But in general, I mean, it is looked down upon because women's always been held to a higher standard than men. So they always had a little label towards women and to men too. So I don't really feel like it's right, but it is reality. What's going on,
Yeah.
Hannah?
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Some of those things we can't change. That's just the way it's been. But I mean, like, I think we do need to hold men to a higher standard that, and one of the discussions I was having earlier on today is like, we have all these people who want to talk to women, all these men, should I say,
Yeah,
who want to talk to women and tell us, you guys got to hold yourself to this standard. You guys, this is the games that men play. This is how not to get played. This is what it is to be a great woman. So we're going to conferences. We're buying books. We're listening to these people. We are giving you wealth, but not one of them is talking to the brothers. What's up with that? Like, where are the voices for the men? Because then we do all this work on ourselves and get to the other end, and there's absolutely nothing there.
yeah. See, like the issue is like a lot of brothers, they expect the woman to be perfect if or not or having a lot of sex partners, closing their legs, etc. But a lot of times for men, you don't have that kind of talk. Now a lot of brothers gonna pull me aside like, "Hey, bro, why are you trying to have sex with that woman?" Like, I guess it's like road code. It's like code as far as men in the barbershop. You don't want to talk or criticize your own fellow brother. But I'm like, aren't men supposed to be leaders? Aren't we supposed to be the one leading and protecting our women's purity? So why would the pressure not be on the men to not sleep around, to set the leadership and set better examples for women to follow? You can't just be everybody. Women don't do this, don't do that, and then you're telling the men something differently. It's gonna be very unbalanced scale and very unbalanced seesaw.
Yeah, it's very unbalanced. But I think that in order for us to really see a change in society, and not only, yeah, in society as well as in our homes and in our lives, and just to change the dynamics of what we look like, is going to take the men, rising up and actually taking their part and taking their place. Because,
Yep.
like you said, men are the head, you're the leaders.
Yeah, we're the head and the leader. I mean, we're supposed to be the ones being accounted for. We're supposed to be the ones leading and showing men being abstinent. But you see a brother not having sex, we look down on that brother like, hey, he must be gay or he must be weird or something like that. Especially he hasn't had that much sexual experience. A lot of brothers down that brother, and some women they down their brother too. He hasn't been out there a lot. So you know, it's a double standard that I don't like, but it is what it is.
Absolutely, it really is. But you know, I think at the end of the day, this is such a personal choice, and it's set on somebody's own. underlying principles, the way they want to live their lives, and the foundation that they want. But I just think that it's important that you actually do know the person that you are engaging with, because like I say, sex is a powerful drug. Sex is a very powerful drug. And I personally think that should be like left off the books for the longest time, while you develop an intimate connection with that person. Sex is not the only way to create intimacy in a relationship. And I think that's one thing that people like to say, well, oh, we want intimacy. Yeah, okay, but there are other ways for you to create intimacy. Let him make love to your mind first. Let him make love to your heart. Let him make love to your world. Like, there are other ways you can, there are simple acts that you can do to create an environment of intimacy without actually being intimate. Sometimes men say things like, well, like, okay, they want to have sex with you, and you tell them, no, I'm not down with that right now. And then they're like, oh, well, you won't have sex with me. Well, guess what? There's 1,000 other women out there who will have sex with me. And, personally, I think that that's just a scare tactic. Um, yeah, obviously, there are other women who will have sex with him without thinking twice. But I just feel like, what? Men do say that to kind of put pressure on a woman to have sex with them. And should she say no, then here they go with that story. But at the end of the day, yes, another woman will have sex with him. But do you want something? I guess what I'm saying is it's quality over quantity at the end of the day. Do you want to wait for somebody who has morals and values, and who sees things the same way that you do? You just stand your ground. There is somebody for everybody, or there's somebody who meets the needs that you're putting out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's all about having your core values. You should be pressuring, a man should be pressuring a woman to have sex. She knows me, know, and you don't. You telling you, oh well, like I might find somebody else, you won't do it, then that's another person for you, because one person who love you, who care about you, invests in you, gonna make sure he waits until you're ready, whether it's a year, 2 years, but he's gonna be committed to you. So don't ever feel that kind of pressure. That's what it's all about. Knowing who you are, knowing your self worth, and understanding your value. That way you don't put up any kind of nonsense. Because you, then nobody can just whisper sweet nuggets or threaten you, because you know who you are, you know what you stand for. And now that's one thing a lot of women gotta work on, is like, as far as knowing who they are, not putting up with just settling just for nonsense.
Absolutely. I think that's just really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, self love, self respect. Joe said, "Why would a man feel the need to express to another man that he's not having sex?" Well, I mean, to a lot of guys, it's kind of like the toxic masculinity. It's like, as far as just men just you know downing other men. Okay, oh, now you haven't had any sex yet. Well, last time you got some, bro. Like, damn, you ain't sleep with nobody. Well, you're waiting till marriage to have sex. What you mean? What you waiting for marriage for? Like, why not just have sex right now? Are you gay or something? Like, it's a lot of pressure on these young men, the far to say their purity, especially at a young age. So I know when I was young, like, when I lost mine, I had a lot of people like pressuring me. I was like, no, I'm good. I just want to focus on school. I want to focus on, working. I'm not really focused on women too much. I'm just focused on my books, trying to get myself established. Then I'll worry about women, but not right now. They was looking at me like I was crazy and it's dumb and stuff. I was like, nah, I'm good. So, like I said, it's really hard on the youth, because it's just pounding into you, especially you get to 16, 17, 18 years, especially going through your adolescent stage. It's really pounding into the men to go out there and have sex, and then it's the complete opposite for the women, to save their purity, you know. And also too, you have household where you have fathers out there, encouraging their son to sleep around, but then don't want anybody to touch their
Mhm.
daughter. So once again, that's contradicting to the fathers out there too. You want your son to go out there and smash everything, but you don't want nobody touching your angel, your princess, etc. So that's once again, that's toxic parenting right there too. So there's really nothing you can do about that either.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I think we just have to get to a place where we can really just have more open discussions about this. I think the more we begin to open up and talk about it, and the real pros and cons, and looking like, why should you wait, why shouldn't you wait, and what are other ways that you can help yourself in that season of waiting, or just moving forward. Because at the end of the day, we want healthy relationships, we want healthy homes, and it starts with a healthy mindset.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And so
it's all about the mindset. It's all about what you're gonna put up with, what kind of energy you're feeding. You got to be positive. You got to be, uplifting type of advice. Anybody trying to downgrade you, trying to diminish you or belittle you, that's not the person for you. That's man or woman. You always got to make sure you know who you are, have a standard, have a code of ethics about yourself, and don't just settle if that's not what you want. Like I said, I'm not the type of person to sit there and judge people that want to wait or have sex before marriage because everybody's different. But it's all about finding people with similar core values so that way y'all can mesh. No point.
absolutely.
No point wasting each other's time.
Yep. There's no point. You mentioned the whole erectile dysfunction. Like, you wait to have sex with somebody and then oops, it don't work. But I think that's so deceptive. We should be, we should be able to be honest with each other if we're looking towards, going to a place, or having a long-term relationship. And so in that case, I think, so I guess somebody would do that with just the thought that if I was to come out in the open and just say, well, this is my situation, that nobody's going to want them, no one's going to wait for them. But I think there is something to be said about being honest, and just being yourself, being vulnerable, being able to express those things, because you will be surprised the number of people who are willing to work with you in that situation. And for the most part, I believe, that there are natural remedies to help with that. And there's also other things that you can do in your relationship intimately, so that so that he's able to satisfy his partner. We had a whole debate about this a few months ago on my page, and somebody actually stepped up, and we did a whole conversation, the two of us, because that was his situation, and he got real, I guess, discouraged in the comments when women were upset that, what, we've been why would somebody bamboozle you, let you be so emotionally invested in a relationship, and then say, hey, well, this is what's going on here, when somebody is so invested. Personally, if that was me, he has a better chance with me and actually staying with him if I knew this from the get-go, versus now we're 6 months in, 9 months in, and you want to start talking about that then. I think, be honest. This is who I am, this is what I'm dealing with. You will be surprised that there are people who will be willing to hang on with you, stay with you for that relationship.
Yeah. Hannah said, why do folks do things they regret? Ladies should not be rushed and men ought to wait. I mean, I hear you, but sometimes the ladies, they be more pressure than the men. They have sex nowadays.
That's
So it do really work both ways too.
it. Yep. That's so true, because I do know, like, there's some men who will say, like, I'm waiting, and not necessarily that they're waiting for marriage, but they're waiting to meet the right person. They're waiting to meet, for the relationship to really give signs that, okay, this has got some potential to be something long term, because they're just ready to wait for somebody special. One thing is, like I said, or I always say this: protect and preserve who you are and who you are becoming. And that one way by doing that is by watching who you're sleeping with. And so, yeah, some women are just, they're fast forward with it, and they're very out there with it.
Hannah said that's true, but I'm just saying it goes both ways. Nobody should feel rushed. Yeah, yeah, I do
Mhm.
agree with that, but you said you talked about women being rushed, but I mean some men are being rushed too, so we do go both ways.
Yeah. It absolutely does. But like, you got to read the signs with your person. You've got to be intentional when you're getting to know each other. And if they match you, then that's good for you. Go about your merry way. But if not, then, it's time to just cut your losses and, wait on somebody who's a better fit for you.
Yeah, and then you was talking about people get married at 14, 13, real young. I guess you kind of asking like what happened to the people want to get married. What was your question though?
No, the question was, okay, the question was, is it practical to wait until marriage for sex because the Bible says wait, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But in biblical times, people were getting married at 13, 14, and 15. So the wait wasn't long. Now people are getting married in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. So the whole wait looks different when you're looking at 13 and 40.
Yeah, and that's why I would think it's kind of tough, especially for women, as far as when they're in their mid-30s, especially the ones that want to have children, and then they even have children because at a certain age, and they, trying to wait for their husband to find her. But sometimes you got to realize that a lot of these brothers are not being built, and not being bred. You're not really being fed into being, husbands or faithful husbands. So it's gonna be really hard. You're trying to wait. You want a man to find you when you're talking you're abstinent, you're celibate. A lot of times they'll run a lot of guys away because a lot of times a lot of brothers ain't trying to wait until marriage. So you're trying to wait, and then you're trying to, especially you want kids, etc. So it's always gonna be, that time window for a lot of women to want to have sex and want to have kids and want to have find a family. They do want to settle down. So it's gonna be tough for a lot of women that are waiting for the husband to find them, etc.
Yeah, it is hard in that, in that season of waiting, but I think you have a large number of women who are okay with waiting and it being what it's going to be rather than settle for somebody who is not the right person for them. Just to say that I have a family, just to say that I have a husband, why settle? Because in that settling you lose yourself, you are unfulfilled, and it's not, just why settle?
Yeah, but like I said, the problem is you have a lot of women that's settling, but like I said, who's waiting? Who's grouping the men to wait until marriage to have sex? Is usually the opposite around. So it's like you're waiting, you're having one side propped up to have this man find them, but who's teaching the men to wait until you marry this woman to have sex with? You don't see that too many cases.
No, you don't. That's
So it really just contradicts itself. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah,
it ain't
that's
out
the
there.
question
I'm
I
saying
asked.
it's not out there for like a majority of women if you think about it. If you want to be honest, Joe said men would not go 3 days without sex before they start hallucinating, so waiting to marriage is not going to happen. Men lust after women on sight. Yeah, I mean, men can lust, but at the end of the day, though, I mean, it is your body, it's your right. I mean, unless the man forces himself on you, I mean, you do have the option to let that man decide or not. So you do have to blame yourself. You do allow somebody to come in, and so it all got down to self accountability. You can't even sit there and blame the man, because a lot of times you're the one that make the decision to let that man go in. A man can shoot a shot, but you're the one that that has to make sure everything is being processed. So you got to take self
Absolutely.
accountability on that one.
You have to be sure that you're on the same page because it's like, okay, you're going to give into that pressure, have sex with him maybe just once, a couple of times, and then he goes to you. Then what? Now you got different issues to deal with.
All right, Hannah said, "See, Joe, we got to pump the brakes on them." But it sounds good. But like I said, a lot of women they enjoy sex too, so it's not just no man thing. You know, Hannah said I was just told to be with a man who was willing to wait. I mean, once again, it sounds good on paper. It sounds good in all the fairy tales you read, but reality is not many men are going to sit there and wait. So I mean, a lot of times you're going to end up waiting because this unicorn man, you may not be able to find you, etc. So you just got to be aware of the truth and the truth of it. Got to be real. You got to be realistic.
I don't think it's unrealistic to
You don't
expect
think
that, though. I really
I'm
don't. I don't.
okay?
There's somebody who can match that perspective. It's not every man. I
I
mean,
ain't saying
it's
everything. I'm
rare,
just saying
yes,
the
but
most
it's
people are
not
into
it's
it.
not unrealistic.
Okay.
It's not. There's some men who want the same thing, even though it may not be the popular belief, it may not be the popular conversation. They're out there, but I do think the message does need to go out to men that they also, they also have to be actively engaged in the process. And not only that, but like, that they actually are working on themselves, because a lot of the times they're just bouncing around anyway, and they're just taking hurt upon hurt, confusion and confusion to the next person. And this is why you protect yourself. Like, we can talk all day about this, but at the end of the day, we know soul ties are real. And if you've ever had to break one, then you know it's hard.
Yeah. That's why I said both men and women have to be cautious of whoever they sleep with. Men, having a lot of kids, different women. You're not following your children. That's not really uh, a good look. Having all these kids, you should, protect your family legacy. You protect your
Yeah.
last name a little bit more. Then you'll be a lot more cautious of whoever you sleep with, whoever you procreate with, and same thing with women too. So, they work both hands, work on both sides, but just overall, both parties just got to be more cautious of whoever they sleep with.
And that's what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to.
All right, you got anything else to add on?
No, I don't.
All right, I appreciate you joining me tonight. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure y'all um give everybody your podcast. Your podcast.
So, dating and relationship podcasts, Project Real Love.
All right, yeah, you're gonna have the link in the description so everybody can check you out.
I sure will.
All right, I appreciate you joining me tonight. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all have
Thanks for
not checked
having
me
me.
out on YouTube, Everyday Thoughts JC. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe, and make sure y'all come up with some more topics. I love to debate, have discussion with anybody. It's a genre-free, judge-free platform, so everybody come on and just chop it up. So until next time, y'all have a blessed one. I'm out.